other side of the wall from them.
Welcome to our session. I trust you had a good lunch. We're going to get you working on here, so you're going to need to have some energy in the room. So was the lunch adequate on behalf of CIPD? That's good. Welcome to a session. We're going to be looking at shifting workplace learning through social collaboration and digital. So just a quick introduction. I'm Andy Lancaster, Head of Learning and Development at CIPD. So I get a dual role here. I'm going to host and present and then work with our guys here, so it will prove that multitasking is possible. So just a little bit of introduction. You'll see in your notes that you've got some bios for our presenters here. I've been at CIPD for about 18 months, having been in all sorts of different scenarios, and I'm just really enjoying seeing the digital transformation at the Institute. So for me, part of standing here today is taking some of our programs fully digital in the last few months. What's that taken? So you're going to get a little bit of insight from the Institute as to how we've done that. Also like to welcome and thanks to Sukh Pabial. You can see what Sukh's been doing. He's currently working with one housing group. I've known Sukh for some time, so you can read about him, but I just want to say he is a good man to be around and does lots of stuff about being yourself at work and the reality of how you can be authentic in the workplace. So we've known each other for some time, so you're going to have a good time with Sukh's content. And Julian Stodd, I mean, Julian, you've got the best job title in the whole conference, which is Captain at Sea Stodd, which is fantastic. Do the other staff members have kind of nautical? Yeah. Fantastic. So we can be shipmates today. So Julian has shaped my thinking around social collaborative, and it's great to have you here today. I'm an avid follower of what Julian's putting out on social media and whatever, so thanks for the insights that you're going to bring today, and we appreciate both of you taking time. So I know it takes time to create these Ignite presentations. So a little bit, just to explain how this is going to go. So if you think you're going to sit back after lunch and just doze off, that isn't going to happen, okay? So this is an interactive session. So if you want to go and do something a bit passive, go and find something else to do, but we're going to have a bit of fun in here. Fun is quite okay. So the way it's going to work, we have 3 perspectives on using collaborative and digital to shift workplace learning. So we're all going to provide a 5-minute Ignite presentation, which are fearsome things because you have 20 slides which run every 15 seconds. So once you press the button, you have no control over the deck, okay? So you're going to see us floundering and dancing around, all sorts of things. So we're going to do an Ignite to provide some context, and then we're going to put a question to you to discuss with the folks around you, a key question from our thinking, and then we're going to do a short Q&A from you to the speaker. So we can do that 3 times, and then there'll still be time at the end for an open question time. So it's going to be action-packed. So that's the kind of format we're going to be using. If you want to tweet, that's absolutely fine. If you want to, you guys are okay with pictures and all that kind of stuff? That's cool.
Yes.
It's going on Periscope, so we're already on Periscope. So those of you who are probably already watching on Periscope, thanks to Michelle Parry-Slate in the front row who's recording us, which is very cool. I've got my slides in my Twitter stream, so if you want to grab those, the other guys will probably be doing the same as well. So all set. So actually, just quickly introduce yourself to the person next to you, because you're going to be talking to them in a moment, just while I get ready to go. So very quickly, you've got about 15 seconds. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
John Booksworth.
You can introduce me. I'll introduce myself to you.
I'm Paul Taylor from Agent Employers. Hi.
Hi, John Booksworth.
Can you do it sideways?
Okay. So now you know you're sitting with someone, and in a minute you're going to explain your deepest concerns, your deepest passions and challenges and aspirations for digital learning. So at least you've got some context set there. So I'm going to kick off by looking at shifting to digital. And then Sukh's going to come and look at some peer learning based examples. Then Julian's going to come and look at online social collaboration. So there's 3 sorts of facets to what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to be kicking off. So that's my first slide. If you want to follow me, Andy Lancaster UK is where my slides are. So my title is The Vision to Shift to Digital Workplace Learning and Key Steps for us to get there. So I'm going to give you 7 compelling reasons why digital learning is a non-negotiable in terms of where we're heading. So if you're building a business case, I'll give you 7 reasons you can give to senior managers as to why digital is really important. And then I'm going to give you some key things that we need to embrace ourselves if we're going to do it. So we are good to go. The workplace is changing incredibly fast. We have 4 generations now in the workplace with us. We have people who have flexible work patterns. We have people working in global and dispersed settings. We have young people coming in who have very different approaches to learning. So with the workplace changing, we shouldn't be surprised that we have got to morph our learning approach. Now you may not realise, but most creatures morph without even realising they're doing it. And the reason normally is because they live in an unsustainable environment. The caterpillar is eating its environment and the tadpole is in a pond normally that's kind of soaking up. So we've got to recognise we cannot stay as we are. But we don't want to just have a vision where we're beating people over with a stick as to say you must move to digital. What we have to do is have a compelling reason why digital learning is important for us. So the first reason why I think digital learning is so important, we are now working in very dispersed workplaces. Even those who are based within one company now find that you've probably got a number of places where employees are working from home. We also have people in global settings, so it's really important. And we want to have learning which is multi-generational. So social and online is not just about young people. The fastest growing group on Facebook is now plus 45 and above, and yet we have young people coming in who are far more digitally enabled. So we need to have digital for those different groups. We also need to recognise that it's about just-in-time and not delayed learning. Often we've had a model where you book on a course and wait 3 months to go, but now the modern way of learning is to grab things when you need it, just in time, and digital can enable us to do that more effectively than running courses. And it's about delivering learning in the flow of work as well. So the modern way of learning is to access learning where and when you need it, rather than having to go elsewhere. And digital gives us the options to be able to deliver that just-in-time, in-the-flow approach to learning. And it's also about bite size and not just feast. So I've grown up in the past of sending people on courses and you stuff them full of content for a day, 7 hours until they're almost sick of content. But now we want bite-sized learning, which is more effective. And digital allows us to deliver that kind of bite-sized approach. And it is about user prescription and not us just telling people what they need to learn. So many people are now learning on their own. Most people use Google as their primary tool at work for learning. So we need to recognise that users want to define the way they want to learn. And it is about engaging people with wider social audiences as well. So digital enables us to plug employees and staff into wider communities of practice, which provides a much richer learning environment. So that kind of social enhancement is very possible. And yet our recent research shows that whilst we know there are compelling reasons for why we're going out, we've got a way to go. So these are some of the stats of the things which we recognise as being important in our competency. So for instance, on social media, 93% recognise it's important, only 15% feel able to do it. So here's some of the shifts we need to make if we're going to move to a digital thing. The first thing we need to move from being learning creators. About 50% of learning content is created from scratch, mainly because we all have a big ego and we think we can write a better course than anybody else. But that's quite a shocking statistic. So we need to move far more towards a curated model where there's fantastic content which is out there digitally, where we grab that and present that to our learners. And only about 40% of content which is delivered is done through curation currently. That's what our research is telling us. And Jane Hart, who's here as well, has come up with a term about the concierge model. So if you're in a hotel here, you might want to know where the best curry house is, and the concierge will guide you to the right place. So we need to become far more concierges, pointing people to where they can find brilliant learning content. But it also will require us to have new design models. It's not the same designing for digital as it is from face-to-face, and many people are finding digital learning design as a struggle. So we need to develop ourselves in terms of digital learning skills, plugging people into online-based learning. And we also need to look at effective delivery. We're finding at the Institute many people who are very confident in a face-to-face environment find online digital very threatening or very difficult to do. And only 34% feel comfortable currently about delivering in an online space. And we also need to recognise communities of practice are so important. I'm in communities of practice with these 2 guys and many others, and it's really vital that we use social media to plug into a wider group who are excelling and moving in this. But again, a very low percentage of learning professionals are comfortable on social media. And I think we need to have a passion to be digital learning role models. We can't take our organisations or our teams with us unless we personally embrace modern learning standards and modern learning approaches. But again, only 40% or so of learning professionals are currently undertaking CIPD. This little graph just shows my life, part of my life over the last few months. We've taken a face-to-face course at CIPD to totally online digital. And we've gone to the point now where we've gone from maybe 16 in a face-to-face group. For a group we started a week ago, we've got actually 130. So it's a massive potential to embrace digital learning in terms of providing a modern learning agenda, but also reaching many employees in very creative ways. It's a whole new set of demands for us in terms of learning, design and delivery. But for those who want to make that leap, there's massive potential. And it's something that I think we all need to embrace. Goodness knows where learning is going in the next 10 years, but I tell you what, I want to be at the forefront of it. Ignite number 1. Okay. The worst thing about Ignite is when you get ahead of your slides, so I didn't manage to do so. Okay. So, I've set the agenda, 7 compelling reasons why digital is non-negotiable, and some of the key things and challenges that we've got. So, for about 4 or 5 minutes, with the person next to you or the people around you, my question to you before I invite questions back again is, what's the most compelling reason for you to move to digital learning, and what's the key barrier that you might face? There's 2 questions actually, but that's the question. So, chat around you. What's the most compelling, for your organisation or where you are, what's the most compelling reason why you may or should move to digital, and what's the biggest challenge that you've got in doing that? So 4 or 5 minutes now, over to you, chat with the person next to you, and then we're going to invite some questions back in
Thank you for watching. It's the first time I've ever done this, and I got about 3 seconds notice before Sukh asked me to do it, so hopefully it's what you want to see. I'm not really sure what to do in these bits whilst they're all talking to each other, but appreciate all the comments. It's really good to know that you're out there, and it's really interesting to hear that you're actually contributing to the conversation as well. So thanks very much, everyone. I'm going to switch back to everyone else because that's way more interesting. Wilcox wants to know what I think. I think that this camera's a bit too close. I think that I love watching Andy do Ignites. I think it's great that he's brought Ignites to CIPD. I did one myself last time at the last conference, and it's really quite scary, and he makes it look really easy. So I'm curious to see how Sukh and Julian get on in a few moments when they do theirs. Has anyone else done one? Has anyone else sort of been through the terrifying nature of trying to keep up with your slides and say something interesting at the same time? They are quite hard work. With regards to the question, I'll remind you of that in a second. Hang on a second. There's the question. What do you think? What do you think to the question? Question there about what is Ignite. It's basically 20 slides, and they switch on their own every 15 seconds, so you don't control them as the speaker. They go through by themselves, and you've obviously got to be super prepared. It's a 5-minute little presentation about, it's usually introducing a topic or introducing some ideas for other people to then discuss, which is what's going on now. It is similar to Periscope, yeah, thanks for that. Okay, we're going to start again. See you in a minute.
You're a lovely chatty lot, which is what we like. Someone said to me the other day, so social learning is all about online learning. It's not actually, this is social learning today. So we need to also recognise that social is not embedded with digital.
Oh, hear, hear.
So, you know, we need to get that right. In fact, one of the most effective things I ever did on one of my previous programmes in an organisation was to increase the lunch hour. We got far more learning done with increased lunch hour and us doing less as facilitators. So, so you've got sort of 4 or 5 minutes now, and I'm going to ask, can we have Sukh and Julian's mics up as well, because I'm not the fountain of all wisdom by any stretch of the imagination, so these guys can chip in. So, just thinking about moving to digital, I've given you some compelling reasons why, some of the challenges you might face. Do you want to, you get some free consultancy here, which is kind of good, isn't it? And we can work together, and your peers can help. So any questions you want to ask us about that move to digital, anything, perspectives you've got which you want to share with the group? So we've got 3 or 4 minutes where you can ask anything. We've got mics running around, so yeah, we'll start at the back and then we'll come down here. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, say your name and what organisation. Just give us a brilliant context for where you...
Okay, is it on?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, so my name's Julie Hardy and I actually do consultancy work myself at the minute, but I'm currently working for a fragrance kind of distribution company, but prior to that was in public sector, like the lady that sat next to me, and I think we both agreed that we have the same problem with digital learning. Those people who accept it as a valid learning tool are already out there doing it. You know, if they want to learn to do something, the first thing they'll do is go on Google and find something that already exists. The challenge for us is moving people into the mental space of understanding that learning or a training course doesn't involve having to be sat down face to face with a booklet that you fill in and you get sandwiches at lunchtime. And, you know, unless it's that, it's not learning. So it's getting them to take responsibility for their own development and shift into that space. How do we do it, please? That's
tricking about 5 things off my brain. So let me just give an initial thought, and Sukh might be a really good time, because Sukh works for a housing association. So I've worked in third sector for most of my most recent past. So I think one thing is I would encourage people to look at how folks are learning outside work or accessing technology outside work, because I'm finding I commute into London, there's people on iPlay and there's people listening to podcasts. So part of the skill, I think, is to help people to recognise they are a digital person anyway.
And then if you tell people if you go on and they get £1,000 at the end of it, they'd soon work out how to do it.
Right, okay, so there might be some motivation techniques in there, but I think people are more digital than sometimes they realise. I think as well it's about an incremental step, so I've got the fantastic responsibility of taking CIPD digital. We ain't going to take this institute fully digital in one go, so what we're doing is choosing particular projects, particular things which maybe are suited towards a digital transformation, or things where there's a natural hunger for it. And success breeds success. So I think that those are a couple of things I've done. So I think as well, if you're thinking of well, it doesn't just relate to public sector, budgets are being stretched right now. So I think there's a compelling reason to work with senior managers to say, actually, shipping people around the country in cars and trains and things to get to learn, that's not an effective cost model anymore. So I think there's some compelling things there. So I'd actually go for some really quick wins, some things that people will enjoy, and help them to recognise they're probably already digitally enabled. Sukh, have you got perspective from housing associations? Because I know you have got some challenges in this as well.
Yeah, there are, and actually just going to echo one of the points you just said there around quick wins. I think it's around just finding safe ways to experiment. A lot of the stuff around digital learning is, oh my god, that means we're going to transfer everything we do digitally. No, it doesn't mean that. It's around finding the things that make sense to transfer to digital formats. Do it in a safe way, in a way that you can experiment with it, learn from it, and then take that and do something more with it later. And it's that kind of step-by-step approach you have to take, otherwise it's just overwhelming people.
I agree with all that. The sort of the main thing that organisations can do to drive engagement with this kind of thing is to stop doing stuff which is really shit, which is what most of them do. So they take the new technology and they ram the compliance training down it. And it's not just that they're ramming compliance training down it, it's really badly written. So I will engage with something if it's worthy of engagement. If we stop writing stuff by committee and just spreading it out and making it long and trying to validate it with more words and then imposing a brand guideline over it. Nothing in my life has learning objectives or brand guidelines except that which is given to me by the organisation. The things I'll engage with are the things that help me to be better. And that's all you have to do to get people to engage. It's not lack of understanding of technology that causes people not to engage. because we're not doing stuff that's worthy of engagement.
And I think to Julian's point, I have a very close friend who works in the city, I will say no more than that, who has compliance training delivered that way, and the primary reason is it delivers a tick in the box for someone in the compliance section rather than someone in the learning section owning that for the right reason. So I think that's both very poignant points. I think we've got to recognise why we're doing this. And compliance is one of the most difficult things in my experience when working within a regulated environment. That's something that needs some very clever thinking around how to deliver compliance in a really creative way. We found case studies were brilliant for that, so that's cool. There was a question down the front here, so one of the runners with the mics. Where's the hand down here? There we go. There's one here, so yeah, we'll do both these questions. Yeah, if you want to go first, because you've got the mic in your hand first, so you've got the camera.
I've got it first, actually.
My question is, I've been open for 18 years, I'm a consultant, but internationally, and my success is based on my delivery, the way I deliver my training programs, make it interesting, engaging, my personality. I realise that I have to move over digital to survive.
Yeah.
How does someone like me get to have content that has the same, interesting, vibrant engagement that I'm trying to put into my programs? And any advice how to get there, what to do?
Okay. Bless you. I'm going to give you my book on how to design webinars. That's not the only answer, but if you want to buy that, there's some available on one of the stands. We're finding that the skill sets of delivering face-to-face, there are a lot of similarities, but once you lose the body language, you have to compensate in other ways. So we have to work with people, and some of the groups I've been working with, listen to people who are working on radio, shut your eyes when you're watching breakfast TV, see how people are engaging in that digital space, because the skills are not difficult, but they're different. Here's one for me, I found delivering webinars standing up made a massive difference from sitting in front of a screen, because you could be yourself. So I think many of us are in the same position. We're now delivering all sorts of classrooms online. It's not a difficult thing, but you have to think about how this works. And I think as well, another one just tip for me before the other guys come in, think really carefully about your pre and post activities, because when and your body language to me is positive and whatever, you can create that in the room, but when someone's coming into web, you've got to try and get some of that into place beforehand. So it's really important to think about the whole learning experience. So that's kind of my tips, but you've got to be bigger than life when you get in the virtual setting, but I think most of us can do that. But and try it out. We used to run webinars with a safe group behind the scenes and really polish them up before we went live for the first time. Guys, any experience? Julian, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I sort of agree with some of that, but I just perhaps bring a different perspective to the way we engage in many different communities. So I don't think we have to just be larger than life and really brash and bold. I think that a healthy community of any sort recognises and requires a large number of types of roles. So we need people who can lead, but we need people who can help us tell stories. We need people who can nurture. We need people who can lead with humility and be learners as part of that community. So the most important thing when developing one's presence in one of these online social spaces is to be true to the things that you're true to at the moment. So reputation is built through a consistency of action over time. But that action doesn't have to be trying to demonstrate that one is cleverer, smarter, faster, taller than everybody else. It's about being able to support the community, and in parallel to that, the thing that organisations have to do is abandon all this nonsense about gamification and scoring people for clicking like 16 times and move towards socially moderated authority. So if I say that you've added great value by causing me to think about something, and if I say that you've told me a story which was useful in my own development, that should be weighted to be worth more than me posting a photo of my breakfast and you clicking like on it. But all of the vendors will tell you, through the technology, that it's the interaction which is important. It's not interaction that's important, it's the value that's added.
Cool. I'm going to take one more question, because I know we've got 15 minutes at the end. So we'll take this question here, and then Sukh, do you want to get your running shoes ready, because you're on next, buddy.
All right. The question that I was going to ask Julian had just answered. You mentioned about Google being the primary route for people to find learning. My big concern is that Google is a gateway to billions and billions of pieces of information, and there is no measure of quality over the quantity.
Yep.
But actually, the clicking of the like means nothing. I agree with you. It's the quality of the interaction, not just the fact that the interaction has taken place. And Thank you very much.
And I think to play to that one as well, our role is changing in that we need to not be creating content, but looking at content which is available, and as a group of wise and learned people, having a look at what we think, and communities, communities rating what content is really good. So part of the reason people go to Google is because they've got to manage a difficult conversation. Our course is going to be 3 months away before they can do managing difficult conversations course. So they go online and watch a YouTube from someone who's done that. So part of our role is to move away from the creation to actually finding great content which is readily available. So that's cool.
And I would just challenge the notion that what we find through Google may not be as valid. So I won't show details now, but what the research shows us is that co-created, community-moderated content can be as valid, if not more accurate and valid, than supposedly formally validated information. Clay Shirky, who writes about cognitive surplus out of MIT, has a really nice short book around that, around how communities come together to construct that sort of knowledge.
Real quickly, my son will probably kick me if he's watching on Periscope, but he went on the National Citizenship Scheme over the summer holidays. He's created some video blog content of his own volition, and like Julian said, he's now got some people who linked into that, and there's a number of kids who've been talking about it. So communities creating content is really important. That's the first Ignite. We've got time at the end to unpack some more, so I'm now going to pass the baton to Mr. Sukh Pabial. So let's give him a round of applause as he gets himself ready for the second Ignite.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about peer-based learning. I don't have my credentials and stuff up. If you're on Twitter, I'm on there. I'm at Sukh Pabial, and you can connect me on LinkedIn. Quite happy for you to do that. So I'm going to talk to you guys about learning, not in the digital space, not in the formal space, but in the peer-based learning space. So how do we do this